We have a belief at the Ottawa Sport Council that education is what others try to do to you, and learning is what you do for yourself. We are here to help you learn today.
In Canada, we have 5 million Canadians that live with a disability. 3.7% of those are children under the age of 14. Among Canadian children without disabilities, 75 participate in some form of organised sport. Among children with disabilities, sport participation rates are as low as 26%. We've got a big role to contribute to increasing that. We, as a country, as a society, as a community, are not doing our job. We need to do more. We need to work together to support the inclusion of all children with all abilities in programming, in health, in recreation, in school, in sport. We can't keep rattling off these statistics and not do anything about it. And I know there's a lot of people in this room today, and it's really exciting that we can continue to generate some momentum, but we really need to influence the broader community. We really need to showcase how inclusion can benefit every individual. We build these fantastic buildings, fantastic playgrounds that people with disabilities can't access. We have these fantastic gyms and fantastic equipment that people with disabilities can't use. So as a society, we are not thinking about every member of our society and the build of facilities, the construction of programs, and that's something that we really need to fix. So what we try and do at the Ability Centre and with our partners is break down those societal barriers. We look at the abilities of every individual and work towards helping that individual realise their full potential. This is a really interesting diagram we have here. So on the left-hand side, we have 3 participants standing on 3 equal-side boxes, peering over a wooden fence to watch a baseball game. So that's equality. Everyone's got the same tools and resources to participate in that activity, although you can see that there's no equity in that. So then we look at the concept of equity, and in the second picture in the middle, we have the shorter individual having 2 boxes, the middle individual in the middle having 1 box, and the adult on the end, so everyone's at the same viewpoint. So it's great, but the barrier still exists. So why don't we actually look at what's causing the issue in the first place and move it? Get rid of that old wooden fence and allow everyone to participate on their own terms. Get rid of that barrier that's preventing that full participation and supporting that inequality. We've known that inclusion supports mass participation. It has such significant health and social benefits for every individual, regardless if you have a disability or not. It has a massive economic stimulus if you look at variations and look at that whole concept of how inclusion can support mass participation. So we ask why inclusion, and I ask everyone in the room today, why not?
I pick up a broken comb, run it through my thin gray hair. Though I don't have any plans tonight, I'm not going anywhere. Well, I should have seen this coming. Don't know why I'm surprised.
When the best of us steps up, our nation stands a little taller. We all play for Canada.
So what really excites me about when I see that video is the inclusion of the child with disability is fantastic, and that's great. It's those 6 or 7 children around that individual that are now participating in that sport on their own terms, being creative and creating different variation that supports their full participation alongside the full participation of that child with a disability. How many of us as practitioners, when we coach basketball or rugby or soccer, just go back to traditional games? You have a ball, you run around, that's it. How many times in our practice do we give the opportunity for children to think creatively? This is what we're going to do, this is objective, go away and do. Here's the equipment that you can use. And just by providing that creativity option for those children to develop how they want to engage, we're being inclusive.
Our CEO, Stephen Wetmore, the CEO of Canadian Tire Corporation, came down to the charity one day, literally came downstairs. It's always daunting when he comes downstairs because we never know what he wants. And he asked the question, why not? What is it going to take to remove the barriers for kids with disabilities across Canada? So, of course, I scurried off and started to do a little bit of work with my team, and we reached out to Karen and her team at CPC. We reached out to the Canadian Disabilities Participation Project. We started to reach out to the Rick Hansen Foundation and Special O, and we reached out to a multitude of partners. And what happened was this.
We are here today to participate in an exciting announcement that will help to create a Canada where no child will face barriers to play.
It is our belief that when children of all abilities have the same opportunity to play, Canada wins. And it is with these beliefs that I am honored to announce today that Canadian Tire, in support of Jumpstart, is committing an extra $50 million over the next 5 years to give Canadian kids with disabilities access to sport.
Sports is what life is all about. It teaches you hard work and teamwork, and that's what life is.
To be able to see this announcement today, what a great contribution. Let's hear it for Canadian Tire and Jumpstart.
Jumpstart Play Finds a Way is going to connect kids, empower them, and create more opportunities for sport than ever before for kids in Canada.
We all love to play. We all want to play, and you don't want to see these young kids looking at other kids play but not being able to do it. This is what this program is all about.
That's what happened when we asked why not. So we're pretty excited. We worked, as I said, with a multitude of partners to come up with an evidence-driven framework for how we were going to get that $50 million out where it needed to be. And there are 5 key pillars to this. Our playground initiative, this isn't just about building playgrounds for the sake of building playgrounds. This is about stimulating a conversation about what inclusive play looks like. We're talking about small things that really aren't big investments, but they're meaningful. Transfer stations, little benches at the end of all the equipment, so a child in a wheelchair can autonomously transfer from a slide back to their wheelchair or vice versa without feeling that, oh my gosh, there's a bunch of kids behind me who are going to slide down this thing and hit me off the end of the slide and feel stressed and scared and pressured that they're not going to be able to participate. Double wide ramps with multiple points of entry and exit. It's not just a token here. You can go up this space and come back down the same one, by the way. Parallel play so that kids of all abilities can play together. This isn't about segregating kids with disabilities into certain parts of the playground. This is about creating a space where everyone can play together.
It's so fabulous to see so many people in the room. The fact that we've got all these people who are interested about inclusion that are willing to come is step 1 in the education, step 1 in being able to move along. Here in sport, we have this tremendous opportunity where we're working together both with our Olympians, our Paralympians, on the field of play. We're engaging participation. We're trying to make it inclusive, as everybody was talking about it. And so, well, how can we take that from both what we're trying to do, we're one of those leaders, we're trying to do it on the field of play, how can we bring it into the workplace? One of the biggest challenges is how do we share that information? How do we get the message out to all of our sport organizations, to our clubs, to our parents, so that they know, oh, this is how we can speak with, and be inclusive of everybody on the field. How do we share that information? And this is a tremendous opportunity that we're hoping we can reach out to everybody. Because within this, we have the chance to make the sports sector the leader both nationally, but the leader especially here in Ottawa, because we're here. How could we really say, okay, we want everyone to know. We want it to be in our orientation with our board members, with our staff, with our onboarding, in our HR practices. We want it to be that everybody is inclusive.
Unfortunately, we meet a number of families who have had less than ideal experiences in sport and recreation. And we use our programs as that chance for kids and their parents as well to kind of build confidence and see sport as a possibility for their kids again. And the second half of what we do, and we invest a lot of time and energy and effort into this, is to try to build capacity in the sport and recreation sector to support kids with autism.
It's always been that everybody should be welcome at Dovercourt, and so that's a daily challenge. For us, our biggest asset really is attitude. That's Dovercourt's attitude, that everybody should be welcome, and we work hard at that every day. So I'm here because my young staff obviously embrace this. They've grown up in an entirely different reality than I did. People were not shipped off to Brockville anymore. They are amongst us. They are living the experience of meeting and being in a classroom with children of all abilities every day. That's what they expect in their recreation center, and that's what we do.
Our sport, Canoe Kayak Canada, came up with paddle all, and it was every boat, every body. And so that tagline was our initial tagline to get everybody in a boat at our club and in our national sport organization.
So what most community organizations are doing does not meet the same standard that's available for able-bodied participants, right? Because of the number of people in able-bodied programs. They have tiers of programs, right? You got the entry-level program, you get to participate twice a week. You got the next program, you get to participate, 4 times a week. You got the next program, and the sky's the limit in some cases. But in parasport, except for on a few rare occasions or places where they were very well integrated with able-bodied programs, it required, I think, all the sports to work together. We all need to share our resources and our time in order just to provide the same thing. We had a lot of sledge hockey players who were rowing. You kind of see the seasonal issues, but we ran a year-round program for para rowing. So, we had guys, erging in the winter and lifting weights with us, and then going to sledge hockey practice, and to me that's really effective and great because none of us would have been able to provide enough sessions to really provide a high performance development environment all by ourselves.
Just, I guess it starts with that attitude that, you want to know what our policy is on accessibility? Because I make my staff memorize it. Are you ready? Do you want to know? You already know it's yes. And so that just, you just say yes. And there's some parent ninjas in the room, parents of children with disabilities here. Why the heck would you want to mess with them? From the time their child was born, they've been fighting with every institution. They lie, cheat, and steal to get what they need for their children. Don't mess with them, make them your allies. So when you say yes up front, the questionnaire doesn't become a tool to decide whether you're going to serve them or not. It becomes a tool to ensure that they get success, and it changes the dialogue.
I think your question from that table was, are we basically ready to roll up our sleeves and really make sports more inclusive? Are we at that point where organizations, bodies are willing to make those commitments? Do you think at this stage of the game, Stephanie?
I think people are more ready to do it than they ever have been before. We need to think really creatively. I love that word when it comes to supporting inclusion. So training, I think, is absolutely, you have to have it. It's fundamental, right? But if this is the story I hear a lot. If I'm a summer camp, day camp leader, and I have 25 kids, and I have one kid with autism who might run off the field if they have a meltdown, is that a safe, successful environment for that child? Maybe not. So what we need to really push ourselves to think about are how do we make that fully inclusive environment a safe, successful, good environment for that kid and all the kids, which means not just training, but sometimes other types of creative solutions involving partnerships. How can we bring more volunteers in? Anyway, all I'm trying to say is I think this conversation's we don't want to give up if we don't want to get it right the first time, because I don't think we should expect it to always be easy, and every child is so different and every club and situation is so different. But let's go into the conversation knowing that and expecting it and being really ready with all of our creativity and our passion to find solutions that really work.